Welcome to the Mountain Dude Podcast, brought to you by Initial Ascent, where we share stories of grit, determination, and the relentless pursuit of growth. This is a space where backcountry hunting meets the deeper lessons of life. Success born from struggle and the art of carrying heavy loads more comfortably, both physically and metaphorically, through faith and perseverance. Join us as we explore the paths that shape us, celebrate victories big and small, and fuel our journey with hope and tenacity. This is the Mountain Dude Podcast, where we climb higher together.
That's the other hard part. Like, I feel like when you adjust mid-podcast, it's like, was it right there? Was it different? Yeah.
Typically, I mean, with being a musician, like mic etiquette, I'm usually pretty good at.
Yeah.
But
what is mic etiquette?
It's mic etiquette is, how close do you get, when, and it's interesting when you're singing, like if I'm on a single mic like this, and it's a directional mic, not a condenser mic. If I'm on a directional mic and I'm singing lead, I'm right on it. I usually kind of put my lip right there on it. Mm-hmm. But then when we get to the chorus and the others join in, I'll back off just a little bit.
Okay.
So it blends.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Or if it's, something where, I'm doing like I don't know what you call it, but when I'm, shouting out, something like somebody's doing an instrumental break or something like that. And, and I'm like, yeah, or get it or something like that. I'm usually turning my head like that. So you don't hear
the yell essentially.
And people hear it out there, I want it to be a background sound, like an ambiance type thing.
Yeah. Okay. You learn something new every day.
That would be mic etiquette.
Okay. That's your today's lesson. Well, this is a series we're going to do, and it's essentially going to be a deep dive into the owners, the founding fathers of Initial Ascent. I'm really excited about this. I talked about it early on. I'm glad we're getting to it. We're going to have both Dennis Stokes and then another separate episode with Joe Elliston. And this isn't going to be the podcast talking about like how Initial Ascent was founded, because that's out there. There's tons of platforms. It's a really cool story, but you can find that elsewhere. We're going to find out who Dennis Stokes is. Our customers and consumers are going to learn who you are today. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too. This is good.
Yeah, it's going to be good. At the end of this, stick around though, because everybody likes free things, and we're going to talk a little bit about a giveaway and try to get some people something free.
Oh,
so
okay.
Teaser. But
teaser.
Let's start this the right way with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so gracious for this life that you've given us. We're so blessed by everything that you've done for us. We thank you for all the many blessings. We ask you just forgive us for our shortcomings, Lord. May you just be with us. May you just guide our eyes and our ears, that we may be able to see and hear what people need, and that you may use us in any way possible. Lord, we love you. We give you all the glory. We say these things humbly in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chris.
Well, Dennis, let's start all the way back from the beginning. Talk to me about your background, your childhood, where you grew up.
Well, I was born in 1975. In Lake Wales, Florida. That's kind of a little place that's it's in Polk County.
Okay.
And it is kind of halfway between Orlando and Tampa, so kind of right in the middle of the state. And my mom, she was a teacher, and my dad, at the time when I was born, I believe he was working at a citrus plant there. And he sold citrus pulp, which was byproduct of the citrus industry. And we grew up around, or I grew up around a lot of groves and cow pastures and everything. My family they on the one side of things, my family was into ranching, and then on my mom's side, there were groves involved, and both, you know, fairly good sized families on both sides, and so yeah, grew up there till I was about 5, so didn't grow up for very long. But I was, you know, around you know, relatives all the time and everything. But I think it was my dad got a job with the Department of Agriculture up in the Panhandle of Florida. So that was Panama City's up there. So we were just north of Panama City in a little town called Chipley. And my mom, she, I don't think she got a teaching job right off the bat, but I think she taught for a period of time. But I was 5 when we moved up there, so started going to kindergarten there, and yeah, we grew up, or when I grew up, I was kind of raised on a dirt road, and you know, we always had horses. We always had a few cows, it seemed like, but you know, my dad had that ranching background, cattleman background. He was real good at it, and then of course, you know, my mom was a teacher, so I grew up working hard and playing hard. I was an only child. Okay. And so growing up on a dirt road, it was still back where, you know, our closest neighbor, you know, was maybe a half mile away or something. And you could still, you know, I don't remember a time ever locking our doors growing up. And I lived there till I finished high school, and then went off to college after that. But yeah, I grew up hunting, fishing, trapping. You know, one of my favorite books growing up was Where the Red Fern Grows.
Oh man, all-time classic. Yeah,
so I had a couple of coon hounds here and there. My dad was always real good about. We always had a dog, or 2 or 4.
A couple.
Yeah, and it was funny. I guess I was told that when we moved up, my dad had 13 head of fox dogs.
Holy smokes.
And they used to run fox down in Central Florida there. And, yeah, he had a bunch of Walker dogs. Yeah. And but what I remember, I didn't remember all those dogs, but what I did remember was we always had a cur dog. Okay. So, and in Florida, you know, blackmouth cur, it's kind of your do-it-all, all-purpose type dog. And, you know, it would, if there was a bull or a cow that was stuck in a swamp, or, you know, in Palmetto, something like that, you know, you could send that dog in there and it would go bring it out by the nose, typically. Yeah. We did a lot of hog hunting growing up, and cur dogs came into play with that too. And, you know, and now I think with hog hunting, you've got a bay dog, and then you got a catch dog. Well, we had both in a cur dog. You know,
okay. Did a little bit of everything.
We did, yeah. It could do it all. You know, it would bay the hogs up. It would run them, bay the hogs up, and then it would go in there and catch them too.
Okay.
So I remember there were a lot of times where we would have to haul a dog to the vet.
Get tore up.
Yeah, it'd get tore up, you know, and have to get it sewn up. But
man, those dogs are so cool. Watching a good working dog is one of the coolest things. It really is.
I agree. And shoot, we deer hunted with them dogs too.
Yeah,
you know?
That's a thing still.
Yeah,
back east, correct?
It is. And even some of my buddies that I graduated high school with, you know, back when I was on social media, I would see I would see those guys posting, you know, and they'd post little old buck on top of their dog box, and,
Yep.
and they'd have, their dogs poking their heads out. But,
Right.
yeah, that was a real thing.
Yeah.
We would hunt these block sections, and you just go until either you cut a track or the dogs struck or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then you let the dogs go, and you get on the CB radio and get everybody gathered up on the end of the block.
Yep.
And you kind of had that thing surrounded, and then see what kind of deer popped out.
Oh man,
It was probably a little dangerous from time to time, but
a little bit of crossfire issues at times. I would
yeah,
imagine.
and you couldn't control how far those dogs would run, and
Makes sense.
it was interesting because if they would, if they're, let's say they flushed a bunch of does out of a block, and there wasn't a buck in there, we would have to kind of line up along that road to that block and catch the dogs before they went to the
off.
next block. And yeah, it was. I mean, there was a lot of times where we were getting calls. Hey, got your dog?
Yep.
Because they all had collars on with your name, phone number, and
Makes
address, and all that. And so, grew up doing a lot of that. I grew up doing a lot of whitetail hunting, obviously, down there. And a lot of it was by myself.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, my dad, I've told this story before, but he was big on going and checking the cows in the morning and in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
and taking his rifle with him, or his 30-30, and he'd check the cows, and he may or may not shoot a deer that was out on the pasture,
Yeah.
while he was checking the cows, and he wasn't going to do anything and be cold.
Okay.
My dad was very, very cold-natured, and so if it got 50 degrees there, he was throwing on the thermal underwear, and he was going to stay in the pickup,
Okay.
as much as he could.
Yeah.
So he didn't come hunt with me a lot, and I hunted in a lot of tree stands, hunted in, in a lot of like condo stands, looking over fields and that sort of thing. That maybe a friend of my dad's or something would have a field and tell me I could come hunt or something.
Yeah. Were these hunts with a rifle or with a bow?
There were a lot with a bow, but a lot with a shotgun with slugs.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have the biggest rifle I had when I was growing up was a 30-30 lever action,
Okay.
open sights.
Probably the perfect rifle for that type of hunting.
It was, because most of the time, unless you were hunting a field, you're not going to be shooting any more than 50 or 60 yards.
Right.
We didn't know what long range was back there. It was just so thick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I killed my first deer. It was a doe with a 30-30, 100-yard shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, open sights. It was.
I bet you were jacked. Were you by yourself or with your dad?
I was actually with my dad.
Oh, that's
with that
cool.
one, which was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. And then I did a lot of fishing growing up. We had farm ponds that at least that I had access to. We didn't own any farm ponds ourselves, but there was one big one that our neighbors would let me go fish. And man, in the summertime when I was out of school, my mom and dad, they would still be working. My mom always had, even though she was a teacher and was off during the summer, she would go up to school and be organizing stuff and cleaning and just doing everything she could to get ready for that next year. And so my dad and my mom would leave me a list of stuff to do. Once I got my list done,
Chore list.
yeah, then I was off. I could go do whatever I wanted for as long as I wanted. And so yeah, they had chore lists. So I knew how to work early on. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it wasn't just little things like take out the trash and do the dishes. It was mow the yard, build this section of fence, doing difficult stuff, for a kid sometimes. Yeah. But they would stack that stuff on me, and it was great because I knew that pond was waiting on me. Yeah. Afterwards,
a little bit of motivation. It sounds like you were pretty self-motivated as a kid to get out and do those types of things.
You didn't have to. I was and this has haunted me for probably my entire life up until recently, but I was always a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. I did not want to disappoint anybody. I was an only child, and so I hated for somebody to think ill of me or to think bad of me. I mean, it's kind of a problem, but I mean, there's still stuff that happened back when I was in high school that I think about, me disappointing somebody that I still remember like it was yesterday.
That's still stuck
that
with
still
you.
bothers me. But yeah, I just never did want to disappoint anybody, especially my parents. Mm-hmm. I did not want to disappoint my parents, and my dad, he was always one that you really never knew what, like, that he was proud of you. Mm-hmm. You just never really knew. He kept a lot of stuff to himself, and so I was always trying to please him. My mom, she'd tell you right out, if she was happy or not.
Yeah, no question.
But
what she felt.
The thing was, I mean, she always made sure that I knew that I was loved and she was proud of me and all of that. My dad was always proud of me, but just showed it in a different way.
Absolutely, right.
So grew up and we were, I'd say low to middle income family. We never really had a lot, but I never knew it.
Right.
My parents never
did everything they could to make it.
Oh man, they did everything they could. They bent over backwards. I mean, heck, they got in some financial trouble. Putting me through school, and just making sure that I, had everything that I needed. Mm-hmm. And so they were a huge support system for me. Now,
that's great.
I didn't grow up around a whole lot of family because when I was 5, we moved up. So I would get to see the rest of my family, uncles, aunts, cousins, grandma, granddad, about twice a year.
What was that distance between?
It was only about 6 hours.
Okay. Still 6 hours.
But it cost a lot of money to drive, and
right.
and it cost a lot of time. Mm-hmm. My dad usually always had a second job, and as long as I could remember. So he was, working for the Department of Agriculture, but then all of a sudden, also he would, manage somebody's cows, or if we had cows himself, he'd be working, with those, or my dad was always trading horses. He was the best negotiator I was ever around. As a matter of fact, you didn't want to go to the car dealership with my dad.
Oh, yeah.
And they hated seeing him coming.
And he was getting the best deal.
They knew what was going to happen. I hated going to, and I only got the privilege of doing that maybe a couple times when I was growing up and actually be in there with him because I'd get my heart set on, whatever vehicle we had just test drove.
Yeah.
But back then, you could actually take it home with you that night.
Really?
Oh yeah, they'd send you home with it.
Yeah, different world then.
It was a different world, but it was a different sales tactic too.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you take home, then you start thinking about what all you can put here and put there, and it's gonna, it looks good in my garage. Yeah. Well, we didn't have a garage back then; we had a carport.
Yeah.
It looks good sitting there, and you could take your wife out to dinner, and
that's smart.
It was real smart.
It really is smart.
But then, my dad bring it back first thing the next morning. Matter of fact, he'd most time be waiting on them, when they got there to work. And then
smart.
It was time to deal.
Yeah.
But my dad was always trading horses. He was always doing something like that to make a little extra cash, and so it was. But great childhood, and
you grew up playing sports.
I did. Grew up. I was in sports. It was always flag football. Flag football was all the way up till you were a seventh grader, and that's when tackle first existed there in my town. So played flag all the way up to there. Actually, at the same time, I did karate as well. Started in karate when I was in first grade.
I did not know that.
Yep, got my black belt by the time I was in fifth grade.
Yeah,
and at the time in that particular style, I was the youngest one to ever, or the quickest one to ever test for my black belt.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
I was ready after 2.5 years, I guess, and but they had a requirement. You had to wait, so long. But I was doing that. I remember, I'd go to a karate tournament, and then my parents would have to rush me from somewhere in Alabama back to a flag football game that evening. Did that on multiple occasions that I remember, and then played baseball. And then once I got into middle school, I liked playing basketball too. Mm-hmm. I know I was real quick, and I could play good defense and everything. But I had one thing playing against me: my height. And I was wondering if that was going to come up.
Yeah,
my height was something that kept me kind of off the basketball court. I wasn't. Basketball just wasn't quite my sport. I loved playing it, and I grew up, playing a lot of basketball with my buddies and stuff. But so I was always an athlete. Football was kind of my passion. When I got into high school, and I was always one of the smaller guys. Mm-hmm. So the thing for me was I always had to earn my position, and it was just never that naturally talented. I wasn't the fastest guy. A lot of times I was the quickest guy. A few steps I was really quick, but the biggest thing is I would just outwork you. Nobody would outwork me.
Where do you think that came from? From your childhood, the way you grew
up?
It
came from my dad and my mom. I mean, they worked so hard, and they put everything they had into their work and into me. And that was just what I was always taught. Going above and beyond. Nobody would ever have to tell me, hey, you need to work a little bit harder. Or you need to. Dad always taught me, never sit there and watch another man work.
What a valuable lesson.
Oh man, you get up and you go either just jump in there and start helping, or you ask, hey, how can I help? Right. And if they won't let you help, then you go find something else to do. But you're not sitting there, and I taught my kids that too.
Yeah.
And, you're not going to sit there and watch somebody else do something.
Right.
I figured that from an early age that if I was going to get anywhere, I was going to have to outwork the folks that were more talented than me, and that came along with anything. When I was a freshman in high school, it was springtime. I was playing baseball, and I don't even think we were into our first game yet, but we had a golf team. Now this was a 2A high school, and in Florida.
2A meaning small, big. How's the scale go?
Pretty small. So in Florida, 2A, so we graduated 125.
Okay.
So, I mean, there weren't real small schools in that. That was probably one of maybe the bigger 2A, because it went all the way up to 5A, I think, at the time.
So it's similar here in Idaho.
Yeah, but we had a golf team. I loved tinkering around with golf, and I had an uncle that lived down in Central Florida, and he kind of got me playing some golf and whatnot. And we had a little local course. Basically, it was kind of a pasture that they would mow real close. And and they had
course.
They had some. Yeah, it was the municipal course.
Okay. Yep.
Only 9 holes, but I used to love going out there and playing. My mom would come. She would drop me off, and I could go out there and play. She'd drop me off there all afternoon. On a Saturday or even on a Sunday after church, and I just enjoyed playing. Wasn't real good at it, but. Kind of getting back on track. The golf team needed 5 players, and you would have 4 scores that counted, 1 that would be scratched out or an extra, and so they would take the top 4 scores. Well, our 5th guy was a friend of mine that was also a freshman, and he was good at golf. That was like what his parents wanted him to do.
Okay,
and well, he broke his arm playing basketball. So now they're down to 4. So if one of them gets sick, they got a DQ. So the coach, which was my buddy's dad, he came to talk to me and says, I know you've played golf a little bit. Do you want to come play on the golf team? And, I don't know what it was, but I had played baseball all my life, and I was just like, you know what, that'd be fun. So I did. I joined the golf team, and I remember we used to travel to tournaments in a Ford LTD. It was a Crown Victoria, is what the coach had, and I was always up front in the middle as a freshman. And we had 2 or 3 seniors in the back, and actually we had 2 seniors in the back and a junior, and then there was another junior that was sitting up there with me. But I was the youngster, and I had to learn to play real quick.
I bet.
I shot 63 the first time out. That was the first tournament I ever played.
Okay.
9 holes.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So
eye opener.
But from then on, I worked really hard. I read everything I could. I was watching golf on TV, which at the time we had 4 channels, and that wasn't helping me much because golf might come on Sunday,
right?
Maybe if it was a major tournament. But I'd get Golf Magazine or Golf Digest, and I would just read and find those little tips in there, and I really worked on my short game because I thought, well, can't go wrong with your short game too much. So I'm going to get better at that because that's how I can score, and that's how I can lower my score.
Yeah.
Well, every tournament, the 5th player would come in last, and all the guys would be waiting there, would shoot, because they kind of went nuts when I brought in, I turned in a 63 that first time.
I bet.
They laughed and, and all that, and they're all shooting, on 9 holes, they're shooting in the high 30s or, lower 40s consistently. And, but they were golfers. I was just
golfing
an athlete. Yep. I was an athlete that was trying to figure it out. Well, every match I kept getting a little better. And, by the end of my freshman year, I made all conference.
No kidding.
But it was just all those hours of, I remember how it felt to shoot 63, and I just knew that I wasn't going to do that again. I wasn't going to feel like that again. So, that just worked.
Goes back towards your personality because you are very self-motivated. We've talked about that, but you also almost obsess over things.
Yeah.
And that allows you to be super successful in some things, right?
Yeah, sometimes to a fault, but I mean, it was the same way, with football.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of the smaller kids out there, but I learned how to hit, and I learned how to, knock your what in the dirt, and I could get lower than anybody else because I was smaller.
Yeah.
But there again, nobody out there, I don't care if you're a star of the team, nobody'd outwork me.
Right.
And so that just continued on, and I decided I wanted to play after high school. And, and I was like all conference, my junior, senior year of high school, wasn't all state. Again, it was just, I just worked harder than anybody else, and I gave more effort.
What positions did you play in high school?
So in high school, believe it or not, I played. I kind of ventured back and forth between outside and inside linebacker.
Okay. But
our outside linebacker was more like a strong safety,
okay.
type thing a lot of the times. But I'd also play fullback as well, and I spent some time, especially when I was on JV, at tailback. And, we went to kind of a different offense my junior and senior years. So they kind of ventured me into slot receiver and everything, but I wasn't terribly fast, but again, I was really quick, for 5 yards, nobody beat me.
Couple steps. Yeah.
I was full speed after 2 steps, so that's where that linebacker, really came, I did end up making a lot of tackles, got a lot of sacks, that sort of thing. And pieced together a highlight film for colleges and whatnot. And I got some little offers from, like NAIA type, and not offers for scholarships, offers to come play for us.
Come walk on the team.
Yeah, Division III, type schools, but not many of them actually. There was a program that was, at the time, it was really up and coming there in Birmingham, University of Alabama at Birmingham, UAB, and had a kid that I was graduating with that was getting a scholarship there, and he said, "Man, you ought to come walk on." And so I ended up going up there, talking to the coach, sending him my little film and all that, and he's like, "Oh, we got a spot for you," and so there again, had to.
This was after high school.
This was just right after high school. You
just graduated.
Yeah, I graduated, and 2 days later I moved to UAB and started working out, and just trying to, just so I could make the team, and then the biggest thing was making the travel squad. That was the thing.
That was the goal.
That was the goal. I had a different goal every single year, and my freshman year was the first year that we went to 1AA, or it was FCS, and by the time I was a senior, we went to FBS or 1A. So at the time, it was the fastest growing program in the nation.
Wow.
So what that meant for me was, as a player, especially as a player that was, just I wasn't as talented as everybody else. But what that meant for me was I had to prove myself every single year just to make a special team.
Because as that team's growing, bigger recruits, more talented kids.
They're getting in JUCO transfers. They're getting in folks that were at an FBS school that maybe got in trouble.
Right.
And they had to drop down a level.
Super common.
And at that time, they didn't have to. So you wouldn't have to sit out a year if you dropped down. Yeah. But if you were going FCS to FCS, and it wasn't called that back then, but if you were going 1AA to 1AA, you had to sit out a year.
So dropping down was probably extremely common.
It was really common. Yeah. So we got better and better players, and we got better and better recruits every single year. Yeah. So I had to just outwork folks.
Yeah.
And I remember my senior year, it was going into, we were going to open up at Auburn, because that was our first year of 1A. And I was on all the special teams, but I was a backup on all the special teams.
Okay.
And the week that we were going to Auburn, it just, and I know this was a God thing, but it happened that the guy that I was backing up on two of the special teams, it was kick return and punt return, he was late for practice. And coach said, nope, Stokes, get in there. And that was my opportunity. And that practice, I ended up blocking a punt. I ended up springing a big block on kick return to, and it sprang our guy for a touchdown. And he's like, you're in there.
You seized your moment.
My goal was I wanted to start on some team at Auburn that first game. And ended up doing it.
That's cool.
But it was by the grace of God, but it was the hard work that did it. I just kept at it. And so it was kind of cool to, that whole year I was able to play in, places I never thought I'd play.
Right. What was that transition like from going from a high school program, a smaller school, to a college program? Because that jump is so drastic. I don't think people quite understand.
There's very few folks that go from high school to college. So I don't know what that percentage is now.
Small.
It's small. But it went from in high school, I was like, okay, during football season, I'm training for football.
Right.
And then during, basketball season, I'm, probably just trying to stay in shape and train for baseball or, golf at the time.
Yeah.
And so when you get to college and you're a football player, it is every day. It's just, you don't stop.
It's your job.
It's your job.
Right.
Yeah, you're there for a reason, and that's, to play football, and then, of course, to get an education. And, some of those programs, it's, one before the other.
Very much so.
So we were a growing program, so it wasn't like you went to, Alabama or Auburn.
Right.
Where it was a storied program, and, they were, heck, the year we opened up at Auburn, they had just come off an undefeated year with Terry Bowden as the coach, but they were on probation, so they couldn't win the national championship, but they were the best team in the nation.
Yeah.
And that following year, we opened up with them.
Oh, boy.
So it was...
And that was at Auburn, you said?
That was at Auburn, yeah.
I can't even imagine that experience.
First play of the game, I'm out there on the kick return team and in front of 85,000 people. And me and my counterpart up back, we're having to communicate on what number we're going to get, what number we're going to block in that line up there. And I literally had to run over to him and yell because you couldn't hear anything.
Jeez. So
that was
what a cool experience.
It was a really cool experience. I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Do you think that those moments, like playing in those situations at a high level in football, has translated to hunting? Those high pressure moments? Yeah,
the high pressure moments. But I think more of the preparation.
That makes sense.
For me, it was always, because I was never out there on defense, on an island with their best receiver.
Right.
Fourth quarter, you got one play,
minute left.
Yeah, I was never in that pressure situation, but I had my own pressure situation.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I had a job to do,
yep.
And I was going to do it to the best of my ability. And so I would say yes, not letting that moment get too big for you.
Like that practice scenario where you earned your spot.
Yeah.
It's easy for that moment to be really big.
Yeah, for sure. And, I got to get out there this practice, and, I've got to go against this one guy and know that I got to go against this one guy today. Mm-hmm. And I got to do whatever I can to, to win that battle or whatever.
Right.
It was those reps. And it was that year after year thing, of I've got to go prove myself because I've got this goal. Mm-hmm. That, one year it was, I want to make the travel squad. And then the next year it was, okay, I want to start on one special team. Mm-hmm. And then the next year it was, I'm going to start on every special team that I can, and be, the number 2 corner or something. It was always a goal like that. And all those little things, like during the off season, when we would have winter workouts, those winter workouts were brutal.
I bet they were.
And in Birmingham, we would have our winter workouts in the Gene Bartow Arena where they play basketball. And so 6 a.m. we would be in there, and those things, they would have trash cans lined on the side for people to throw up in. Oof. All that. They were brutal, but yeah. That's where I had to stand out.
Right.
And and I did most of the time. So it's that kind of mindset that, you may be more talented than me, but you're not going to outwork me. I promise you.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same thing with, going up a hill, if you've got to go chase that bull that's on that, that other ridge, and you got to go down into this brutal canyon, and back up again.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
That mindset, I love it, because you still have that to this day.
I do. I'm 50 years old, and
correct.
It'll never leave me.
2 weeks ago, you called me talking about going on a hike with Wyatt, just training.
Yeah.
And you're like, I wasn't going to let him beat me to the top. Like, you still have that.
Oh, I do. Because the thing was the week before, I don't know. I hadn't, and here's the excuses. I'm going to let them fly real quick.
Let them out. Leave them here.
Yeah. I hadn't gotten much rest, and, I was just not in a good headspace. And Wyatt, he beat me up the hill, and I told him when we got up the hill, I said, Wyatt, appreciate the effort you put in this morning. I said, but I'm not used to following people up the hill, and that will never happen again.
I love it.
And so the next week I made sure that I smoked his but that's just stuff I got to do. I've got to do that for myself.
That's a good thing. I love that. And so do you think that mindset was something you were born with, or was that instilled in you from an early age? Because it's obvious you've had that from the beginning. It happened in golf. It happened obviously in high school football. You weren't the most athletic. It happened in college football, and it's still happening today.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was instilled way back, and I owe it all to my folks. Mm-hmm. Just showing me I guess always having a chip on my shoulder, if you will.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes, to whatever I do. And sometimes it gets the best of me. Sometimes that pride mm-hmm. gets the best of me.
Right.
And, and that's something I've been working on for the last several years. Just, as you get older, if you recognize your shortcomings as you're going along. I mean, just because I'm 50 doesn't mean that I can't get better.
Right.
I wake up every day wanting to be, number one, a better person, a better child of God, a better husband, a better father, a better friend, and, a better business partner. Because we're here at Initial Ascent, I don't always accomplish that. And that hurts. I take that personally. But that's what I set out to do every single day, and I try to do things, whether it be in my day or starting with my devotion every morning. But that's my goal. And if I can get to the end of the day, and I look back and I can say, well done. For the most part, you accomplished that goal. Mm-hmm. And there's always hiccups.
Always going to be.
The thing you got to worry about is, and watch for are just the outside, I won't say outside influences, but just the things in the environment, right? Yeah. That will tick you off or that will get your stress level up. Pride's been one thing for me that has been really tough. Being used to having that mindset of, nobody's going to beat me at whatever I want to do. That's a tough thing. I guess that's a high standard, to be able to uphold. But I think it's you set out to do that, and it's the journey.
Correct.
And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be successful. Mm-hmm. And that's no different than waking up every morning saying, I want to be a better man.
Yep. Well, it's sometimes that 10th time is the more valuable lesson that was needed to be gained there.
Yeah.
God puts us in situations for a reason.
Failure is so important.
It is.
It really is. And man, I've failed more times than I care to mention in all walks of life. Mm-hmm. Man, there was a time where, and I've always known God. I've always, my parents brought me up in church. My dad hardly ever went. My mom was always there, or she always made sure I was there growing up. Mm-hmm. But then after I graduated, I didn't go to church for a long time, and I drifted away. But I forgot where I was going with that.
Hey, we've all had those moments.
I'm 50 years old.
But yeah, so you grew up in church, but there was a point where you had drifted away, and obviously you found your way back.
Yeah. So that what I was saying is I've done a lot of stuff that I'm not proud of.
Right.
That are not Christ-like. But yeah, I drifted away, and by the grace of God and my wife, I married a beautiful, wonderful woman. It's my best friend. Back in 2000, before I came out here, and tell you how good she is. She married me on a Saturday, and we packed up everything we owned on that Sunday, and Monday we set off for Idaho.
Wow! Why Idaho?
I'd gotten a job out here because I just finished grad school at Auburn, actually, and but yeah, I was so focused on getting my career started and so excited about getting my career started that I wanted to get started just right off the bat. So our honeymoon was actually spent on the road in 2 separate vehicles. Yeah.
If you knew Dennis's wife, she's a saint. She
is an absolute blessing is what she is.
Yes, she is. That's the truth.
But yeah, and I was excited. She was excited for us and for me, but she had grown up in Alabama. She didn't really know anything but Alabama. Mm-hmm. And I don't think either one of us knew where Idaho was.
Couldn't point it out on a map.
No. But man, I was so I was so jacked about getting my career started and everything. So we moved, and by that Friday we were here and starting a new life together. But she was a huge blessing, still is a huge blessing to me. But man, I didn't start getting back into my faith really until like 10, 12 years ago. I spent a lot of time. It was pride and selfishness. Like I say, as far as like financial means and things, I didn't have a lot, growing up. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I move out here and, I'm starting to do pretty well. I'm building business, and it's really going good. And so, man, I remember one time where there was a time where I had like 4 different hobbies that I was doing, and this was after I'd get done with work.
Right, and you're talking work as in your dairy nutrition
job, yeah,
outside of Initial Ascent,
right? My consulting business, but I was trying to cover all those bases that I feel like I missed because I financially couldn't do it. Yeah, and so it was selfishness. It was just me. Right. And so we've been out here now for 25 years.
What made you realize that selfishness?
My wife. She just, she was the only one that could really get through to me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I ended up having to, decide basically that, hey, I'm going to limit my stuff, because we had twins on the ground, and mm-hmm. I was so busy trying to make a career, make money, and then also, fill my bucket as well. That, man, I wasn't a good husband. I wasn't a good father. At least I didn't think I was. Yeah. But yeah, it was just selfish. And, but man, between my wife and God, both of them just kind of jerked me up, by the ear.
Sometimes that's what we need.
Exactly.
It really is.
But man, it's just, what a blessing. And, and then you fast forward to 2014, 15, when Joe and we had known each other for several years by that time, and, and then we started Initial Ascent, and all of a sudden for me, hey, we got a new challenge here. Yeah. But it was all of that stuff that happened, in my past that kind of got me to that point, I guess.
Isn't it so cool how, like, when you really put yourself in a situation and can reflect on things, like, you realize, like, all of those tribulations, good, bad, whatever that's happened, God does that stuff for a reason. It essentially funneled you and put you in a position where you could be, to make this successful and your family in a better position because of that.
Yeah, looking back, you can always see it when you mm-hmm. when you look back. But the real cool thing is if you can open your heart and open your mind to, hey God, what do you have for me? What right. Your plan is already set. Yep. I'm just doing whatever you want me to do. And sometimes he's got to hit me in the head with a 2x4 to let me know what that is. But, I feel like just as long as I continue to work hard and continue to, I think the biggest thing, especially in the last, several years, is really looking at myself, reflecting on how I was before and how I am now and how I want to be.
Right. That's so important.
And that never stops. That journey never stops.
Correct.
And I figured out that the more and more that I seek to do that, it seems like the more and more God's revealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for instance, I was meeting with a friend the other day that was in town, and he told me about this book that he was reading. And I'm going to give you this book, by the way. It's absolutely amazing. But he was telling me about this book that I was reading, and so I picked it up just because he recommended it, and I started reading it, and it talked in there about a lot of the things that I had been doing, and a lot of my approach, talking about giving, talking about relationships, and it's just a different spin on success, if you will.
Okay, what's this book called?
I knew you'd ask me.
Put you on the spot, didn't I?
I'm 50 years old. I'll talk about it a little bit more, and then I'll tell you the title of it.
Perfect.
But it's one of the top 5 books that I've read in the past probably 10 years.
Wow.
And I ended up buying like 15 copies, and I'm giving it out to certain people. I'm going to give you one as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to read it.
But it's stuff like that I think God is presenting to me, and as long as I'm open
That's so
to
important.
it, open-minded, open-hearted, things are happening.
Right.
And it's not like you're not going to have some hiccups and some speed bumps.
You will, I promise.
The one thing about that Joe and I have seen in this business is that, God's kind of given us what we can take when we can take it, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when we look back, we've kind of seen, some things like that. But it's funny because when he shuts a door, he slams it.
Right.
And at the same time, it seems like he's opening up another 2 or 3 over here for us, which I think 15 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to see that type of stuff.
That's so important that you're in the position to where you can see those things now. Because sometimes in those moments it feels like you're drowning when that door gets closed. But I think what you said is so important to realize that God's not going to throw anything at you that you can't get through.
That's it.
He's not.
Yeah.
And in those moments, it sure does seem like it sometimes.
It does. And I've seen that with my consulting business, and I've seen that with Initial Ascent. Those are kind of the 2 businesses that I've been in, for the last 25 years. Yeah. And
both successful at that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Both successful. And I tell you what, man, the older you get, and you don't even have to be 50 years old, but I think the faster that you can realize and staying in the Word, starting your day. I mean, I start my day every day with a devotion of some sort. Usually it's on the Bible app, but just getting that posture for the day.
Right.
I can't tell you how much that's helped me to be able to start that day, and then just constantly coming to the Lord in prayer about things. I've got this tattoo on my arm that our buddy Travis Harper did for me several years ago, and it's actually, I took a picture of my hands, doing that. And it's based on the verse Psalm 55:22, where the Bible says that, in a sense, give all things over to God and all your worries and everything. And that's what I've been able to do. We as men especially, we want to take everything on our shoulders.
Right.
And if we just do this and just give, and it doesn't matter what it is. God wants to bear that burden for you.
It can be big, can be small. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I found out the more that I've done that and let go of it myself and just ask for his help,
yeah,
the more that I get answers.
Right.
And you know what? And the answers may not come right then. And that's something else I've had to
very true.
really get used to.
Yeah. But they will come, I promise.
They will.
They're coming.
Whether it's in this life
Correct.
or the next, they will.
Yeah.
He will answer those questions.
Yeah.
And he will take that, from you. He wants to take that from you. And I've figured out the more that I do that, not necessarily the more answers I'm getting, but the more that comes off of me, stress-wise, anxiety-wise. I've suffered with anxiety for years and didn't even know what it was.
You think that started as a young kid, or when do you think that really came on?
I think it did start as a young kid.
Yeah.
Just looking back and seeing those symptoms, like the panic attack symptoms. Yeah. I haven't had any of those. I may have had, one in the past year, but there for a while, I was having them, I when I say fairly consistently, I would say, maybe once a month or something.
Wow.
And I can look back and not knowing what they were at the time, look back and know that that's exactly what it was. And it's that kind of thing. I'd looked into medicine. I took some medicine for a little while to try to hedge those a little bit. But the biggest thing I did was just started giving that stuff over to God.
Amen.
And and that's a big reason why I've got that tattoo on my arm is that when I get like that, I can literally look down and say, "You dummy."
This isn't yours to bear.
Exactly.
Right.
What have you done before? And what works? That works. Here's your reminder. It's with you forever.
Right.
Which is the reason I have tattoos on my body.
Yeah.
There are none of them except for one that I did way back when I was a freshman in college.
Probably don't want to talk about that one on the podcast.
No, it's okay. It's not in a place where I wouldn't talk about it. But
it's not on your lower back where you.
No, that was back before that was cool, actually. No, it's actually a little Mighty Mouse right there because that kind of reminded me of who I was.
Yeah,
I was always about the size of a mouse.
Yeah,
compared to everybody else, and so and that was back when you would go to the tattoo parlor and you would look on the wall.
Yeah, okay,
and you'd see, I want that one.
Wow.
And it was, that was back in those days where you're still picking stuff like that. Now we envision stuff. Or
correct.
We bounce.
Let Travis envision things for me.
Yeah, exactly. We bounce ideas off of a guy like Travis that, can actually visualize, that thing and then put it on your arm. Yeah. So, but and now I've got a sleeve.
Love it.
Of stuff.
I love it. It's awesome.
But it's all a reminder.
Right. So you early on in this podcast, you talked about pride and that being a big thing for you. And you said that a few years back, you really recognized that. What was the point that started coming to realization? Was it that situation where your wife kind of grabbed you by the ear, or what made you recognize that?
That was definitely one, but at the time I didn't recognize that. I'll be honest with you. The first time I really recognized that pride was here at Initial Ascent. I mean, Joe and I, it was just Joe and I, you know, and, you know, we were trying to make this work, you know, but we weren't working well as partners. And for me, it was my pride. You know, I felt like I was competing against my partner, and, you know, and that's something that I've really had to work on, because I've not been accustomed to trying to accomplish a goal with somebody else. Right. And, you know, and the cool thing about Joe and I, we have different strengths that we bring to the table. And as long as we utilize those different strengths in complement, boy, good things happen. Right. Really good things happen. But that was getting in the way of my relationship with Joe, and it was getting in the way of our, and it does from time to time. And it's
a daily thing, right?
It's a daily thing that I have to work on, is my pride, and I have to check myself. So yeah, that's something that I've really been working on. But it's not. It doesn't only happen here in business. It happens, you know, in normal friendships and relationships, in my marriage. And I think, in all transparency, I think that as you get older, you sometimes feel like you're losing things, and that you aren't what you weren't, what you were, once were.
Yeah.
And so I think that sometimes, you know, comes into my head subconsciously, if you will.
Yeah.
But man, that pride, I mean, it will crush you. It will bring you to your knees. And sometimes it's right where God wants you.
That's the truth. And
it's gotten me to my knees so many times. Now, before the pride has actually pushed me down there, it's gotten me there because I recognize it.
Yeah.
Right. And so that probably, you know, selfishness, you know, and then pride, and there for a while it was a combination. But then the selfishness kind of took a back seat. But I had to recognize that, and I needed a lot of help with recognizing that. But yeah, pride has been the biggest thing that I've battled. And praise God, He's helped me, and you know, my wife has helped me. Joe's helped me. There's been a lot of people in my life that are so important. That have helped me with that. And
well, and that's why it's so important to surround yourself with people that you want to be in your life for a reason.
Isn't that the truth?
Well, and that pride thing, obviously it can be a negative thing, but that's also something that's helped shape you to who you are, because that's one of those things that makes you want to outwork everybody.
Yeah.
And so
it's hard to balance that.
Yes.
There's a fine line.
Correct. But now you're recognizing it.
Yeah, between, you know, giving up that competitive spirit and to what shaped you.
Right.
That's what shaped me.
It's what's helped make 2 successful businesses. And
right.
Absolutely.
And you know, and done all this other stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, you've got to recognize it. And I think, you know, praise the Lord, I've been able to recognize that. And, you know, and one of the things that book that I still can't remember the title, it's because we're sitting here talking
Correct.
about it.
As soon as you hit record, that stuff just...
Yeah, exactly. But I will definitely put the link to that book in the description.
Yeah. I can tell you right now, if I go hit that red button, it'll come to you.
It will. It will. But yeah, that's one of the things that it talked about in there, and it kind of solidified what I've been believing for a long time, you know, about that issue. And and this book talks a lot about how much you can gain by being selfless, by taking yourself out of the spotlight, if you will, and trying to promote yourself. And it's like the more you give, the more you'll receive. And I don't think when I say that, I don't mean like, if I give stuff away, then that's going to ultimately make me more money. Right. I'm not talking about that.
No, not at all. You're talking about the feeling, the things that come from that.
Yeah, absolutely. The good things.
Yes.
So I
the
don't
blessings
know,
that you get to see other people have because of it. That's what you're referencing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing that this business has really done. I think the hearing the comments come back, talking to the people that will stop by here in the shop, or will call up and say that they've been able to do something that they haven't been able to do before, because of something that that we created, and another example is people listening to this podcast and saying, man, it just means so much that you guys open up with a prayer.
Yeah.
And that you're not afraid to put your faith out there. And had a conversation with a guy just yesterday, and we were talking about, we're talking about the film, and we were talking about, I said, have you listened to the podcast? And he was like, no, but man, it would be really cool, if there was a podcast that, where people weren't afraid to put their faith out there. I said, you got to listen to the podcast. Yeah. So we started every episode with prayer,
right?
Because that's, we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for that.
The least we can do.
Yeah,
truly.
So, no, it's I don't know. It's really amazing if you just remove yourself and you just start trying to see what God has planned, and what He's got in store for you.
What piece of advice would 50-year-old Dennis give 19-year-old Dennis?
Oh, my word. It's not all about you.
Man.
That would be the biggest thing. I couldn't tell 19-year-old Dennis, how to work hard.
Right.
It would be, it's not all about you. And I used to think that I put others first, and I did a lot. I was always polite to people, and
but that's not what you're talking about.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah. So, just off the cuff, that's what I'd say, Chris.
I love it. I love it. There are so many. That resonates with me deeply, and I know it's going to resonate with other people. And I think just being raw and real is so special. And it's something that sometimes people need to hear. You never know who's out there that needs to hear it. So I really appreciate you being so open and vulnerable, because that ain't easy.
Vulnerability, that's something that I've had to learn over the years. Being vulnerable, humility.
Yeah.
And I think when you talk about pride, that's what is lacking, is the humility.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've learned over the past several years that has helped me more than anything.
Yeah.
Is that humility, going about everything with humility. Because you know what, at the end of the day, and I think that stems back from me caring so much about what people thought of me.
Yeah.
And trying to please people. that humility was the hardest thing to do for me personally.
You think that stemmed essentially from you wanting people to see you as perfect in a sense? Like, is that what you're referencing, or what do you mean by that?
Not really perfect, but I wanted people to see me in a good light.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't want people to think ill of me for anything. I didn't want people to think that I had a mean bone in my body, or, a selfish bone in my body, but that was, and that ended up not being the case.
Right. We all do.
Yeah.
That's human nature.
It
is.
Is.
Reality at its core.
But humility I think that is the biggest, for me, that is the biggest thing that not only I've had to work on, but that's something that is on my mind every day.
Yeah. And from I've known you now for quite a while, and then so seeing that, and also with this conversation, the number one thing, the common denominator that I see here is that God got put first.
That's it.
And that changes everything.
That's it.
It really does. And that's a daily thing. It's like you talked about. And there's going to be ups and downs, I promise. Yeah. And when things are going up, I promise the devil's going to try to get his jabs in. He's got to.
That's when he's going to do it, man.
Correct.
I feel like, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you're in the Word, if you're getting closer to God and you're just right in stride and things are going great in your spiritual life, that's when he's going to attack you, and he's going to throw everything he can right at you.
Giant haymaker.
Absolutely. Yep. And I've seen that personally, because I've really, really tried to, get closer and walk more in step with my Lord and Savior. And so, in a weird way, if Satan's throwing all that stuff at you, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Yeah. So,
and it's a good reminder every time too.
Yeah, exactly. It really is.
And it's all right. You're going to catch a couple of those on the chin. It's going to happen.
It's what are you going to do about them?
Correct.
And my dad always used to say, son, you get bucked off, you get right back on, because you know what that's going to teach that horse.
Yep. And you know what's funny is my wife and I had this conversation last night. Kai fell off his scooter, busted up his lip, he's bleeding, and I told him, all right, cowboy up, dude, get back on that scooter. And my wife which is a good thing, is very, I grew up hard too, like you were just tough. You just shook it off. You didn't talk about it. My wife's like, no, he can be sad, which I agree with. So we had that conversation of, it's all right. Yeah, you can feel those emotions, and you should feel those emotions, because that's normal.
Yep.
But it's all right. Get back up, get back on that scooter, whatever it may be, get back on the horse. That was our conversation is, talk about those emotions. That's okay. Yep. I think those things are a good thing to do. Talk about how you feel in those moments.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when the devil gets a lick in. You talk about it.
Yeah.
Be open about it, and then just get back on the horse.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Me too.
This was really good.
Yeah, me too. And it's good. There's going to be somebody out there that needs to hear these things. And we talk about the prayer to start the podcast. That's our goal, is if the Lord can use us in any way, then let's do it.
Amen.
That's been one of the coolest things about this, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always said that I don't care if one person listens to this podcast, but if they get something out of it,
correct,
that will help them. And it's not anything to do with gear or chasing a bull elk or, trying to stalk on that mule deer buck. If they can just pick up one thing, it's so worth it.
Absolutely.
So worth just one
every
person.
second of it. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. So, no, I love it.
I thank you for your commitment to this.
Well, I thank you guys. I really appreciate you. Well, before we close this thing, we teased a giveaway. I guess we better talk about one, huh?
Yeah. So, what hat are you wearing over
would you
there?
look at this thing? Some duck camo, huh?
Man, that just came in today, actually. So
Correct.
it's a duck camo hat. We're calling it the Dry Light hat, and it actually has a leather Initial Ascent logo patch on it.
Embroidered patch. They're sweet. They're a little Black Hawk style hat, so it's not your typical Richardson. You're
Right.
wearing the...
I'm wearing a Richardson now.
You are. Yep. The Hunter Orange.
And we also have this. I think if you go buy a pack or something on our website, that one of these might pop up somewhere, at a discounted price. You never know. Things like that happen from time to time.
Yes, I like it.
But yeah, the duck camo hat. So
duck camo.
What are we going to do for them?
So there's a sweatshirt coming here as well. So be on the lookout. By the time this launches, hat, sweatshirt will be out there. And
duck camo as well.
Duck camo sweatshirt, duck camo hat, and they look good. If you leave a 5-star review, we're going to pick our favorite on next week's show.
Yes.
And I am going to send you a hat.
Oh, man. Do you have a review that you could read this week?
I do. Let me pull it up.
This was, I think this is the one, maybe the one we read before the show, but it was pretty awesome. In case you guys didn't know, duck camo is the thing right now. It's like
I'm so glad it's coming back.
Me too.
It's the best. It always has been.
Yeah. So I've got a vest that my dad used to bird hunt in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had this vest when he was a kid, but it is straight up duck camo.
I love it.
And I'm gonna dig that thing out.
You should
gonna wear it as a fashion.
You might have to
piece.
wear it on the show next week,
dude. I think I might. If you wear a solid, sweatshirt underneath, and then you have your duck camo vest.
Yep, I think you got it right there.
Even at 50, that's cool.
Especially at 50, that's cool. All right, I'm going to read a comment from Will Flowers from our last episode, when God sends you an elk tag. Testimonies like the one that Chris just shared about meeting Alan are way I try to pray often for eyes that see and ears that hear what the Lord is trying to share with me. In the present, when the Lord is speaking to us, it always seems so subtle, but his guidance is undeniably there. I pray that you guys stopping and allowing the Lord to speak through you for Alan truly healed him. Congrats on the bull, Chris, and thank you all for sharing.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Incredible. So go leave a 5-star review, and I'm going to pick one next week on the show. We're going to get you a free hat, so make sure you listen to next week's show when it comes out, so that way we can get in touch. I'll get you a hat on the way, and share it with your friends. We appreciate all the support.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for another episode of the Mountain Dude Podcast.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Dennis.
Until next time, keep your eyes on the summit. This is the Mountain Dude Podcast, signing off.